So, welcome to Troubleshooting XenApp style. Just a few words about me. My name is Richard, I come from Germany. I'm doing mainly Citrix stuff for 17 years now, and did a lot of troubleshooting projects regarding Citrix related things, and that's what I want to talk about today. What I don't want to talk about is the usual things you might run into when you're setting up a Citrix environment, because there are a lot of good troubleshooting blogs and articles out there that explain where you have to look if you have a problem with your NetScaler, for example, or anything similar to that. Today I want to talk about the things that you may run to during operation. Maybe something changes in your environment and you haven't changed anything on your Citrix side as a Citrix administrator, or you are the one in charge who's called to customer side regarding a problem with, I don't know, whatever is going wrong in your Citrix environment. And the first thing you should do when you come to a customer or you run into a problem is to start with very, very simple things. Just asking questions about the problems. What is the problem? Who has it? How long is this problem coming up? Can you track down specific criteria like times when it comes up or systems, just to get a picture where to look at? Because it's about getting the idea of what you need to troubleshoot. It doesn't make sense if you come to a customer and you start directly logging onto a server to do anything without having the idea what you're searching for. So these are the questions you should ask, and if you go more into detail about what questions you should ask is, XenApp is a very complex infrastructure. It's easy to set up nowadays, so the installers are very easy to use, but if you look at a complete infrastructure and what kinds of systems you're interacting with, there are a lot of things that can produce problems out of maybe nowhere. So Active Directory is a good example. So if site configuration is wrong, you may run into the problem that your logon times are taking longer than they should. Or someone in the security department is changing things regarding to security settings in your system. So maybe Kerberos, what you will, where you will get problems with Citrix receiver logons or Stormont or something like that. And also you should look at network settings, like is there maybe someone changed routes during operation, or the load balancer is not doing things like it should, or file servers, if you have folder redirection, doing things during logon or during operation. These are all things that can produce very severe problems, and that's also something that you should look at if you are studying questions and arriving at the customer side. And on the other hand, we're running applications on top of XenApp, so there are a lot of problems that arise through deployment of applications or through the configuration of applications that can come up. Group policies are mostly everywhere a problem at a customer side that have arrived. Some people have loopback processing in merge mode, so they are like, I don't know, screwing up the settings for the users that are logging on to a Citrix XenApp environment. Hypervisors also, if you look at NUMA configurations, there's a lot of trouble you can have with things that are changed during operation. And the best thing about doing troubleshooting is about the things that are not documented anywhere. Hard-coded settings in the operating system. Maybe you are running your PBS systems in a manual way, so you have an administrator that is integrating new settings, directly doing changes on the golden image, and you are not in the position to look into a document to see what changed. So these are problems that can come up. And if you look at a XenApp environment, we will have a look today at what you can do on the receiver side, what you can debug or log on the storefront, and on the controller to track down problems and to solve them in an easy way. So first things to do when you have asked all the questions and you figured out maybe this is a receiver problem or more a storefront problem, is just by starting to look at the event logs. It's very stupid, but many things can be seen in the event log if you look at a software server, for example, in the or exam system. And if you can't see anything on that side, you should start digging deeper and starting to create debug logs or enhance the logging capabilities or use tools that Citrix and Microsoft provide to give you something to troubleshoot a system. And in the next minutes, I want to look at some of the specific tools that Citrix is providing and some of the tools that Microsoft has in place to give you some sort of armory or tools you can use to track down specific problems. Now let's start with Citrix. So Citrix has a very cool pack of tools you can use. I don't know, does someone of you use or had a look into the Citrix supportability pack? So there are about 51 tools in the moment you can use not only for XenApp specific problems, also for XenDesktop or Netscaler things. I won't go through all of these. I will have a look at some of them just to give you a starting point from simple to more complex, how to track down specific problems. So the first of all is the Citrix Health Assistant. It's a very simple tool. You just copy it to a VDA, start it, and when you run it, it will check for specific things like the service status, if your Windows firewall configuration is correct, and if you're communicating successfully with a delivery controller. That's a good starting point just to see, okay, is everything correct? And if it doesn't give you an idea about the problem, just move on. So the next one, and that's a little bit more complex or gives you more information about the system you are working on, is XenPaint. So you can run it also through a command line. It will give you a little bit more information about networking interfaces, what groups you are in, MAC addresses, if all the services are communicating and reacting to a request. But there's one thing. If you look at these tools, I don't know if you can see it in the back, don't trust the troubleshooting tools unless you have checked if they are doing exactly what they should do. Because if you look at the Citrix Health Assistant, it's checking under HK local machine software policies Citrix if the list of DDC's registry setting is set. And that's correct because in this example, I've created a group policy and configured the group policy to tell the VDAs and a specific OU to use a specific controller. So what XenPaint does, it says it's not configured and throws you an error, but it's not correct. And if you look a little bit deeper with process monitor, I will come to that a little bit later, it's looking under HK local machine software, VOV 6432 node Citrix virtual desktop, and it doesn't find any setting. So it cannot find anything because it's the wrong location to look for that setting on a 64-bit system. So that's the point. If you have tools, just be sure that they give you the information in a correct way that you need to figure out the problem. The next tool I want to show you is HDX Monitor. It's basically also a very simple tool. You can install it in VDA if you like, but you can also use it in an online mode. So just switch to that side to get the download link. And what you can do is, if you start it, you get an overview of settings in an iTunes star rating style about how your system configuration is looking like. And if you are maybe trying to get some display related problems just to figure out what is set on the system and to have a quick look on what is going on it, then you can start this tool, and by clicking on those bubbles here, you get a deeper view about what is exactly configured on that system. So you don't need to crunch group policies or the Citrix Studio console if you configured policies over the console. You can just go right to the VDA, start the tool, and check whatever you just trying to figure out. The next tool is the Citrix Receiver Diagnostic tool. I played a little bit with, there's a knowledge base article on how to enable debug logging on the receiver with registry keys, but it's not really handy, and it was also not really logging that what I expected. So if you use that tool, and you copy it to your client or to your VDA if you're running Citrix Receiver on that, it's very handy to start a tracing process just right in front before you start any application, and it will start to collect a lot of log files and event logs, if you like, at the end to a package. And if you're done, you have the possibility, I saw that somewhere on a support forum, the question, if you need to upload these informations to Citrix Insight Services. So all of you know what Citrix Insight Services is. So you don't need to upload them to Citrix Insight Services. If you don't like it, you can just review the upload package, and then you are about to check for yourself what the problem might be. And what you get is a CDF trace. Above there you get a receiver diagnostics log, and you get all the event logs you can take just to start troubleshooting what the issue could look like. And if you look at the receiver diagnostics log, there are, for example, information about if you have trusted sites maybe configured, or if there are certain settings that are not configured. So what you can see in the receiver diagnostics log is maybe settings that are screwed up through certain process or something similar. But if you don't want to have a look at it, you're also in a position to just directly upload these files to have Citrix Insight Services, bless you, analyze them automatically. I'll come to that in a minute. So what I would also suggest is, just because of that XDPing tool problem with the wrong registry key, all of these tools are written from Citrix support team members, so they are not all directly supported from Citrix, but they are working on it. And it would be cool if there are any issues, just to report them back to make the tools better, so that, for instance, XDPing doesn't look in the wrong registry key. Let's look at the next one. So you're seeing Citrix Receiver Diagnostics has created a CDF file. You can have a look into it, and you need CDF control that you can download also here to make that human readable, because if you look into it, you won't see anything on it. And the cool thing about CDF Trace is that you can filter for certain events like errors to get a deeper look or an easier overview of what is maybe going wrong with the receiver you're running. On the other hand, you are also you can also use CDF control, for example, on your delivery controller. Just copy it there, run it, and you can filter here categories that CDF control is having a look at. So in this example here above, you can see I did a trace, and there right above there's a message, cannot connect to the database controller. So you don't have to, that took 2 minutes just to open it, start the trace, stop it, set the filter, and you're right in the position to track down why maybe your configuration, why you can't start Citrix Studio or whatever, because you have no connect to the database server. Very handy tool. The next thing is Citrix Scout. I think it's also a very cool tool to get an overview over an environment. It's automatically installed on every Citrix controller you're installing, so you can go there, start it up, and you can trace up to 10 machines for data collection and just start the trace process. And you can run it for hours if you like, but always keep in mind when you're troubleshooting, and we talked about the questions in the beginning about what time frame is maybe a problem coming up. Always when you start troubleshooting, try to make the time frame you need to troubleshoot as small as possible, because you will get such an amount of data you need to analyze in the end that it's the shorter the time frame, the faster you can finish with the process. So just take care of that. And this tool is giving you a lot more of information about the systems you are tracing with. For example, you get all of the registry settings for specific registry keys like WinLogon. You also get a lot of logs regarding the controller services, and again at that point you are able to upload this trace to Citrix Insight Services. All of those who don't know Citrix Insight Services, you can log on there with your Citrix ID, and what you get in the end is, if you enable it, because during installation you can just type in your Citrix ID and connect to the complete infrastructure from you to Citrix Insight Services. And what happens then is that periodically your site will upload statistics data and configuration data to Citrix to CIS. And additionally, if you run, for instance, the Scout trace and you upload it, it will give you a simple overview of issues you might have. So in this case, the issue I have is that I have only one controller detected in my site. That's a little bit, I don't know if this should be an issue, because in the same environment I have only one storefront server, my database is not clustered, so on and so on, so it doesn't really make sense. But I think it's a good starting point for everybody to check his farm if you have any kind of issues that you're not seeing right in front. And what you also get is a complete overview of the logs and traces and the installed components you have in your farm, just to get a quick overview again what is happening. And that's also cool because you can script that process with PowerShell, so you are able to create like a scheduled task on your controllers that is polling, I don't know, every 2 hours for your infrastructure and uploading these things just to see what happens in a more frequent way. And another thing you get is an overview of what issues you might have. I don't know if anyone knows what checks are done here. I tried to get the information, but seriously, I don't know what they're checking here. But I will try to get a list what exactly they are really checking to give you information about what Citrix Insight Services is all about. And these are the articles you can read. There's, for instance, how to generate diagnostics data. There is written down how you can use PowerShell to upload these traces automatically to Insight Services. Now let's have a look at Storefront. Storefront is also a very common component in Citrix infrastructures where you can have problems connecting users to your apps. And the first thing you should look at, like I said, start simple before you dive deeper into debugging problems, is have a look at the event log, and if you don't see anything, start creating debug logs. It's very simple. You just add the snap in and set the DS trace level. There are 5 different levels that you can trace, and if you look into the directory, this is the normal operating logging that you get, and when you start it, you get a lot more of log files in this directory. And if you are troubleshooting together with Citrix support services, they will also tell you to start the debug queue to have two different kinds of information about maybe what is going on. If you open such a file, because you may think it's a text file and it's readable, it's not. You need another tool for that. And Microsoft has a perfect tool to get an overview of what is going on. There's a Windows 10 SDK you can download, and one of the tools is the SVC Trace. And here you can see now it's human readable. You can directly dive into it and have a look what's going on. And it's very small, but you can see here that I started an application, and in INetPub, Citrix, blah, 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 the default ICA file is loaded. So for instance, you get really deep information about what might go up in your infrastructure. So that's for Citrix. I think that's enough information really to have worked for a whole week. If you have a problem, you might need to track down. Let's look at Microsoft. I will start simple again. I know that tool, but it is often the case, you're at the customer side, you have an end user and he's not able to concretely explain what the problem is he might have. Or you're not able to go to the customer side and sit right next to him to see what he's doing. There's a really cool tool that is installed on your Windows servers and on your clients. It's called Windows Steps Recorder. And if you start it, it basically records with a screenshot every single click the user is doing. So if he's starting, for instance, a Citrix receiver, screen is coming up, he has a desktop, he's maybe starting something inside that and he's clicking on something, then you have the complete process of what the user is doing to track down on which infrastructure component you should have a look. And that thing is packed into a small file. You can email it to everybody and then you can have a look to just figure out what maybe the error message is and on what system you should look like. You should have a look. So the next thing, Windows SysInternals. There are also a lot of tools that can support you during troubleshooting of XenApp-related issues. And I think the famous one of the famous Process Explorer, very cool tool to see what processes and what child processes you have for a complete system, for instance, or if you filter and track it down for a specified user, for example. So if I need to track down the problem for me, for example, I can, it's very small, sorry, I can integrate a column with the username and you will see what processes I have started. And additionally, you can here insert a column for the command line and for the user session, for example. So you get a quick overview of maybe a script that is hanging with a specific command line. If you're in a logon process, troubleshooting, you can have a quick overview of what's going on. And you can also, for example, look at one specific process. There are a lot of things you can look at, but here, for example, you can have the environment variables also shown for a specific problem, because sometimes you have child processes maybe scripted badly. Environment variables are normally just, how do you call it, written. If you start a master process, all the child processes should use the same variables, but maybe someone screwed up a script, and so you can have a look if an environment variable, for example, isn't set like it should be. The second one, Process Monitor. This is the tool, I think, that everyone who is doing Citrix should know like better than his wife or husband, I don't know, because
it talks as much as your wife.
Yeah, it talks really.
That makes no sense.
And that's
all you have to do is say, uh-huh.
Thank you. And that's one of the main problems working with Process Monitor, because it will create really huge traces of your system. So like for 30 minutes you get 6 gigabytes of data you need to go through, but you can filter that down again with trying to get command line user and so on, just to make the debugging process a little bit simpler. And what it's also cool to use for is if you are using user environment management software like, I don't know, Essence or something like that, if you need to search for a specific setting you can set with group policies or it's nowhere documented, you can just trace for that specific application you want to customize, set a filter, and you will see if they are creating files in the file system, like they're changing INI files or they are changing specific registry settings. And you need to take care of applications that only write registry settings, for example, when they are closed. I think Notepad does it. So there's a lot of other methodology you should take care of, but here in that example, I set a filter on the receiver and the processes that belong to it, and you can see that it is creating a link file in my user directory. So very handy to track down customizations of the system. But on the other side, if you are troubleshooting slow logons or settings that are not set during logon because of timing issues, you need to be aware of the fact, thank you, that this tool is taking a lot of resources to write these traces. So it can be that it can happen that you are searching for a problem during logon that you don't have if you start that tool. So you need to have another one running as well, side by side. I'll come to that later. So, but this is one of the tools really you should use in every case because you can track down a lot of problems related to registries files or network-related issues because you can also see here what systems the user process might contact. If we look at what we have in the networking space, there's also a very simple tool, NetStat, to have a quick look. But in the SysInternals suite, you have TCP view, which is giving you quite more information about what kind of process is talking about which protocol and which port from your source system to the destination system. So you can track down very easily if there might be some communication issue to a backend system, for example. I was not sure if I should show BG Info because it's such a stupid tool. Basically, you start it and you can insert information on your desktop for administrators and for users if you start it for every session. But the cool thing is about it that you can add additional information through integrating PowerShell scripts into the process of getting information about the system. And the other thing is, if you don't have a huge monitoring tool that is direct looking at which users are logging on, but you can create a log file on a file share, and if you start BG Info for every user in your environment, you have a very simple way of logging the activities and getting more information about what kind of users are logging on to which system, just to get more information about that. And I showed you the Citrix Receiver Diagnostics log a few slides before. There's a cool tool you can use to have a look at log files. It's integrated in the System Center Configuration Manager toolkit. It's called Trace. And what it basically does is it looks at every line of a log file, and if there is a warning or something like that, it highlights the line in red, and if there's warning, it's yellow. So if you have to analyze big text log files, you can very quick find the line where maybe a problem could be written down. If we look at group policy related stuff or configurations that might change, the first thing I always do is I start RSO PMSC to have a quick look of what policies are configured against a specific system. And you can run it as administrator on one hand to get all the machine-specific settings, but you can also tell a user to start it in a session. Then you only will have user-related settings because it is not administrator, you cannot have a look at it. But what's cool about it is you get the GPO name of the setting that is configured, or that is the last one that is setting the setting. So you can track down very easily if the new policy someone created is taking effect. And if you need to dive deeper, you have the possibility to create a user and debug logging. So you need to create a folder in Windows called user mode, and if you set that registry setting here, the system will directly start to write group policy debug logs. Also, again, very much of information that you will get. It will also grow very big in a very short time, and you will be able to track down if there is maybe a problem loading a group policy for a specific user, just to track down maybe replication issues with your Active Directory controllers or something like that. Very handy tool. But it's not working for every problem, so I will come to that in just a few minutes. So I talked a lot about getting log files, tracing things, and how should we deal with that? So because in the end, we need to analyze all of this data. And the only thing you can do to track down a problem you might have no idea about it is not only to look at one kind of debug log you are creating. Maybe you have more sources you need to combine into your analysis to get a picture of what is going on. For example, that's a log file from a customer, therefore I just took this information out. So if you're starting to trace down problems, you should look at specific time frames in different kind of log files where you might get a picture of what could go wrong. And here you see we have a 77-second delay in the logging of the user. And basically, you should also take a look at the GPSC debug logging, and on the other side, maybe with process monitor to have a look what processes might cause that kind of delay, and how, and maybe also with process monitor, because you can see the child processes then as well. So you have to look really at many sources sometimes to get a picture of what the problem is. And this is just an example I'm working on, so that's a Uber agent overview, but it couldn't help me in that case. There's a user, the same user logging on to the same system, to the same application, to the same domain controller, and sometimes logon takes over 2 minutes, and sometimes it's just really weird, quick and fast. I'm just in the process of getting an idea of what might be the problem, and I haven't got feedback from the customer, but I will maybe write a blog about it when I'm done. But you see that time frame here from 9:21 to 9:33, just the process monitor log file grew 6 gigabyte in size. And if you look at the GPSC debug logging, you might also have it's a lot of data you need to go through to find the root cause of the problem. And one thing to mention is, if you're running process monitor, you shouldn't run group policy debug logging as well at the same time, because your results won't show you in the end what the problem might be. So you need to make more than one trace to go through all of this. That's a list of the troubleshooting tools I showed you. If you want to have a look at the SDK for the storefront logs, you can download it here. And that's for it. I hope it was useful for you. Thank you very much for your attention.